If you're still enjoying your meal, please continue. Our job at the Walton College is to build the next generation, to build upon the foundation created by leaders like those we honor tonight. Over the past 2+ decades, there have been just over 100 remarkable Arkansans who have been inducted into the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame. If you're a past inductee or a representative of a past inductee, would you please stand and be recognized? As one of the nation's largest and most highly ranked public business schools, everything we do at the Walton College is grounded in impact, developing principled leaders, conducting research that matters to businesses, and strengthening communities across this state through entrepreneurship. Tonight is a powerful reminder of what impact truly looks like over a lifetime. Evenings like tonight would not be possible without our generous sponsors. We were fortunate to receive an incredible level of sponsorship this year and are grateful for their commitment. Our sponsors are listed in your program. Please join me in giving them a round of applause to show our appreciation. I would also like to thank University of Arkansas System President Jay Silveria for joining us tonight. Jay, your continued support of the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame and the work we're doing in the Walton College is much appreciated. Arkansas has produced and continues to produce world-class business leaders, including Scott Ford, Sue Walk Burnett, Jim Dyke, and Dave Stickler. Because of their excellence, and lasting impact, these 4 individuals now join the distinguished ranks of the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame. Their induction tonight honors their leadership and contributions to expanding opportunity for all Arkansans. The Honorable Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Governor of Arkansas, was unable to join us this evening, but wanted to personally recognize this year's inductees. Please turn your attention to the screen for a message from our governor.
Hi, and welcome to the 2026 class of the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Scott Ford, Dave Stickler, and Sue Burnett. And congratulations as well to the family of James T. Dyke. His legacy lives on throughout our state. The Sam Walton College of Business established the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame to recognize some of Arkansas's best and brightest. And I couldn't be more proud to celebrate this year's inductees and their incredible achievements alongside each of you. Each of the inductees reflects the vision, perseverance, and strong leadership that Sam Walton used to turn a small town 5 and dime into Fortune 1. You've each driven innovation, remembered your roots, and invested heavily in Arkansas. And I can't thank you enough for all you have contributed to the natural state. Congratulations, and I hope you enjoy tonight's event.
Governor Sanders spoke about the importance of leadership and economic growth across our state. And tonight, we honor 4 individuals who are leaders, builders, and fellow Arkansans. Now, it's my honor to formally recognize this year's inductees.
I thought every family was involved in business and politics and had people spread across the spectrum. Even as a kid, my dad has always talked to me like his dad talked to him, which was as an adult. My mother was kind of an independent thinker. So she was my champion, and I was hard to be a champion for. grammar school, middle school, junior high, high school. I was a nondescript student. I get to college, but I had to kind of try it out for a year, which was kind of Dee Dee Greenway, my wife, she basically tutored me through those freshman level classes. I mean, I was no more going to do that than a man on the moon. So if I couldn't instinctively answer it, it just went unanswered. Literally, here's how she got me through algebra. She said, if I told you the question was A plus B to the third, she goes, what's the answer to that? And I go, I don't know. And she goes, right. But if I said, you got $100 and you want to have $200 and you got 7 years to make it, what do you have? I said, oh, it's got to make about 10%. She goes, just turn it into money. And that's literally how I got out of algebra. See, my life is just one blessing of one mentor taking pity on me after another and investing in me. Dale Dawson invested in me for 2 years, and then I went to work for Jack. What I learned from Jack Stevens is that a really thoughtful conversation is made up of 1 part talking and 5 parts silence. Don't fill the space. Use the space to think about what you just said and what you just heard. I never will forget. I was standing in Mr. Stevens' doorway. I was leaving, and I said, Mr. Stevens, you know I don't know anything about telecommunications. But he smoked that Marlboro Red. The nouns are different, but the verbs are all the same. You'll do well. And off I went. I started at Alltel January 26th of 1996. We lapped the field from a shareholder return perspective. I wanted the shareholders to get a good return, and I wanted it to be a great place to work, and I wanted it to be a blessing to our community. We achieved all of that, but it wasn't about me. It was about the team. That group delivered well beyond what anyone would have thought Alltel on a wireless basis was going to do, and we had turned it into the 5th largest wireless business in the country at that point. Okay, I'll tell you a story. We had a call, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and Merrill Lynch were going to finance us in an all-cash offer to buy Sprint. We had a telephone meeting set for 10 a.m. to launch the process. And I got a phone call from Victor Nisi, and he says, an airplane has just flown into the building next door to me. We're all getting out of here. And it was 9/11, so we let it go. But we would have been the largest wireless business. That'd have been good for the state. Have the largest retailer, the largest trucking company, the largest protein maker, and why not? Why not have the largest wireless business? This limitation mindset, I do not get. I do not get it. I do not abide it. So what we're gonna have instead is we're gonna have the largest private label coffee manufacturer in the country. So Westrock Coffee today is the largest private label manufacturer of coffee and tea products in the country. We serve restaurant chains, we serve big C-store chains, big retailers who sell under their private label name, and then we make products for big CPG, consumer packaged goods brands. But the reason that we're in business, the mission of the business, is to help farmers in the developing world get a fair price so that they can improve their livelihood, their economic well-being. And the more we win in the first world, the bigger the order book is for us to go back to the developing world and be a cop to make sure they get a fair price so they keep their kids alive. And so this business being successful is important. For 5 to 6 million children a year that eat from the crop that we buy from their parents. The teams that have built Westrock Coffee were not me. The teams that built Alltel, they weren't me. They don't get this kind of honor, but they do that work. And they're the ones that actually created that event or series of events that our community valued enough to bestow on them through me an honor. So I'm very thankful that the teams that I've gotten to be a part of have been recognized by their community as that they were important to them. There is no limit to what people, when they are believed in, can do. And when you give them that environment, it's not that hard. Yeah, you have to be persistent, you have to be resilient, you have to be relentless, you have to be team first, you have to be willing to be accountable. All these things are true, but at the end of the day, I am a testament that even difficult children that are continually pursued and mentored might have a role to play in the world beyond being a good student. How about that? Maybe I'm the beneficiary of realizing as a 5-year-old that just because the teacher told you X didn't necessarily mean X, right? Yeah, I'm just now 63. Sam Walton didn't start Walmart until he's 55. I got so much to do.
Escorted to the stage by his father, 2000 Arkansas Business Hall of Fame honoree Joe Ford, please welcome Arkansas Business Hall of Fame honoree Scott Ford.
Thank you very much. I think we covered that I wasn't a great student. You give an interview for an hour and a half, they pick 3 minutes, you don't know what they're going to latch on to. There you have it. When I was 18 or 19 years old, I just want to take a minute though. When I was 18 or 19 years old, at the end of the period that we talked about here, but before my career, I met 3 fascinating people in 3 different forms that radically changed my life. The first one, the most beautiful one, was Dee Dee Greenway, who's been Dee Dee Greenway for 42 years this summer. And she yeah, Dee Dee, I can't see, but would you stand up? That woman has suffered more than you can possibly imagine. And she's tough, and I love her. And she taught me to love another person other than myself as an 18 or 19-year-old. And she reshaped my life. The second person that I met was Jesus, when I finally decided I was willing to deal with him on his terms instead of him dealing with me on my terms. I have a stubborn streak. Only he knows the deep work that he commenced when he took me on when I was 19 years old. The third person I met was a guy named Francis Schaeffer. And Francis Schaeffer, strangely, and this is going to sound funky for those of you that know me, was an art historian. And he wrote a book called How Shall We Then Live in 1976. And I read it 4 or 5 years after he printed it. And it changed my view of the world because he loved art and what it said about culture, and I loved the study that behind every artist is a patron, and behind every patron is a business model, and behind every business model is an industry structure and a societal structure. And underneath all of that, people are dealing with technology, changing their business, creating opportunities, and eating opportunities. And the people that built businesses, that funded the arts, and funded public schools, and funded roads, and funded water, and funded electricity, all of those people had formed in teams. And this was something, as an 18 or 19-year-old, that was attractive to me. So I made straight A's in philosophy, straight A's in finance. It's not that I couldn't, it's that I didn't care. And suddenly I cared because of those 3 people. Teams are all that I am interested in doing. I'm a terrible individual sport athlete. If you've played golf with me, I don't even keep score. I don't know what it is. What does it matter? No team is involved, and so it's not interesting. But if you look at the teams that I've gotten to be a part of, the reason I love Arkansas so much, many of you are in this room. Hey, Bo, Pat. I see the people that I grew up with, that I played pee-wee sports with, that I went to school with, that I went to church with. Hey, I'm just going to ask you, and just stay standing. If you and I were buds in school and sports and all of that stuff, would you just stand up? And I'm going to step out of this light so I can see. Just stand up. All right, if we worked together at Stevens on that team when we were starting up the investment banking business, if we worked together there, would you just stand up for me? There's a handful. If we worked together at Alltel, and there are a bunch of y'all, if you would, or you or your spouse, if you were on that team, would you just stand up for me, please? And if you're at West Rock Coffee, the latest, would you give me a stand? This is the group that shaped my life. This is the group that when I'm done and I look back over my life, these are the people I did life with. What an honor, what a privilege. Y'all are awfully nice to have a fellow like me in such a club as this, but I appreciate it greatly.
I don't think that when you start a business, you ever have a vision of how large it's going to become. You go into things not knowing the risk, and I think that that's been good for me. I was born in Galveston, Texas, but moved to El Dorado, Arkansas when I was 5 years old. My father was a chemical engineer. He was very successful in his career, but what I really didn't realize at the time is that he was a civic leader, and he was always such a great motivator and encourager of me. I was very much of a rule follower in high school. In fact, I was DAR Good Citizen. I was state president of Y-Teens, treasurer of the senior class, and editor of the newspaper, and decided that I would major in journalism in college. I decided to go to the University of Arkansas. I pledged Chi Omega, which is a very important sorority to me. I'm still very active in it. I'm on the foundation advisory board. I worked on the school newspaper, and then I became co-editor of the annual. The day I graduated, I got a phone call from ABC offering me a job as a dictaphone typist at $2 an hour. And I was so thrilled. I went to Little Rock. 6 months after I'd been there, they promoted me to assistant promotion manager. The manager was actually my age. One day, he said, "Would you get me coffee?" And I said, "Can you get the coffee yourself?" The next day when I went in, he said, "Well, you didn't bring coffee yesterday." They let me go. I was really devastated at the time. But then I bounced back and I got a job with Associated Milk Producers at $500 a month. So it all worked out. One day I got a phone call from one of my sorority sisters. Her sister-in-law was looking for a roommate in Houston, Texas. 2 weeks later, I packed up my clothes and moved in with a girl that I'd never met. I didn't have a job. I didn't know anyone in Houston, and I had $500. I started going to personnel services to have them help me find a job. One of the personnel services said to me, "Well, would you be interested in being a recruiter? It's straight commission." So I called my father and I said, "Dad, what do you think?" He said, "Well, Sue, I think you should try it." Now I was taking a big risk to take a job that didn't even pay me any money. My first month, I placed 12 people, which was really a big success. And then my second month, I didn't place any. I wanted to quit, and my manager said, "You're really going to be very good in this industry. You've got to stay here." A few months later, I became manager at the age of 24, and I got married to Rusty Burnett. Rusty said, "I think you ought to start your own company." Women could not borrow money from the bank. You had to have your husband co-sign. And I said to Rusty, "I think I want to do this." So we used my car as collateral, and we got a $10,000 loan. I I started my company in 1974. We started as a direct hire placement recruiting company. I wrote all of our ads. I was the main salesperson, but also filling jobs, and I would go out and call on companies. I was very persistent. Oil companies started moving to Houston and hiring a lot of people. I was able to get in with Exxon. One of the companies that moved to Houston was Aramco. I knew that they had an exclusive with my main competitor. I kept calling the HR manager over and over, if you would just give me one job that maybe they haven't been able to fill, and let me see whether or not I could fill it. Well, you know, there is this executive secretarial position that we haven't been able to fill, and he told me about it. And I called the applicant while I was sitting at his desk. She went in and she got the job. And after that, I started placing over 20 people a month with that company. But then in 1982, oil companies started laying off people by the hundreds.
He said that Exxon had decided to shut down 850 service stations in the Northeast and the Midwest.
Half of my business went bankrupt. I had to go to my parents to say, I need for you to loan me some money. In 1987, things picked back up. I was able to pay them off. And then in 2001, I was able to grow by a couple of acquisitions. And we also have a fairly large staff because we're in 5 different cities in Texas. We've been able to make our employees owners of the company, and that makes me very proud. As an employee-owned company, our stock has grown 370%. It has shown my staff that there is a future for our company. It's been a wonderful career. I really love being active in the community. It's been very exciting to be involved with the journalism school at the University of Arkansas. I started giving scholarships to journalism students. One day I was up there meeting my winners, Larry Foley, who was head of the journalism department. He said, but you know, our television station's in the basement, it's in terrible shape, and we really need a new building, but we have to have a major donor. So we donated the money. When the board of directors of the university approved it, they also approved a $4 million renovation of the entire journalism building. It's a tremendous honor to me to be in the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame, being able to help other people and to make an influence on their lives. That, to me, is true success. It was a huge surprise, and I'm very honored to receive this award.
Escorted to the stage by 2014 Arkansas Business Hall of Fame honoree Mac McClarty, please welcome Arkansas Business Hall of Fame honoree Sue Walk Burnett.
Thanks so much, Dean Williams, and I want to thank the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame Board and Selection Committee, and also the University of Arkansas Walton School of Business for making this such a special event and for selecting me for this incredible honor. It's even a bigger honor because I am only the 8th woman out of 112 honorees in 28 years. For those of you who are old enough to remember Ralph Edwards' TV show, This Is Your Life, this is the way I'm feeling tonight. It's particularly wonderful to have so many of my high school and sorority sisters here. It's wonderful to have all of the support of the people that I grew up with and went to college with. At my table, the most important person in my life is my husband, Rusty Burnett. He is, I would not be standing here without Rusty's encouragement, partnership, support, and love for the past 52 years. He and I worked together, and we worked for 40 years together, and we had different traits and talents that complemented each other, so we were a great team. But Rusty's vision, his business expertise, is what really helped our company grow. And he is truly the wind beneath my wings and the love of my life. So thank you, Rusty. Also at my table is our daughter, Sarah Ginrich, and her husband, Jim, and my granddaughter, Rachel Ginrich. I'm very blessed. You know, Sarah was 4 years old when Rusty and I got married. So she has been my daughter for all of these years. And I have a wonderful son-in-law and a great granddaughter. And then I also have another granddaughter, a grandson, and two great-grandchildren that couldn't be here tonight. And also at my table is Larry Foley and his wife, Susan. Larry was in the video that you saw, and he was head of the journalism school when my building was built, and he is retiring from the University of Arkansas this year. He has been all these years a great teacher and head of the journalism school, and a wonderful friend of mine. And also, Mac and Donna McLarty are at my table. And you know that Mac was an honoree himself in 2014. Donna was the very first person that I ever met at the University of Arkansas. My parents and I were driving to Fayetteville to move me in, and we stopped at a restaurant, and a girl came over to the table and introduced herself, and it was Donna. And we ended up pledging Chi Omega together, and I was a bridesmaid in Mac and Donna's wedding. And my senior year, Mac was president of the student body of the University of Arkansas, and Donna was president of Chi Omega. And then when Mac was chief of staff for President Clinton, I was fortunate to have some wonderful memories and memorable experiences with them in Washington, D.C. So I'm happy to have all of the people there at my table. Also, I have a table of my dear high school friends who are here, and we grew up together in El Dorado. We've known each other for 70 years, and we're all turning 80 this year, which we can't believe. And so, you know, the saying, old friends are the best friends, so I'm happy to have them here. I have two tables of my sorority sisters, Chi Omega, and my pledge class is celebrating our 60th anniversary of being initiated at the University of Arkansas, and so we had a luncheon today to celebrate that. And the members of my pledge class that lived in Little Rock ended up having a luncheon every month for decades. So it really has kept us all very close together, and we're still blessed to be such dear friends. And many of them were at my building dedication in Fayetteville, along with my high school friends. Being in a sorority really changed my life. I finally had sisters after being an only child, and living in the house really made us all so close together. I'm thankful that I've stayed involved in the Chi Omega Foundation, and Rusty and I have taken some wonderful foundation trips with my Chi Omega sister Jane Rogers and her husband Jay. But growing up in El Dorado, Arkansas was a wonderful childhood. It was where you could ride your bike anywhere you wanted to go and learn how to drive at 14. And that was before cell phones, when your parents couldn't track you where you were going. And I did have wonderful parents who encouraged me and supported me in anything that I wanted to do. I think being a leader really started with being in Y-Teens and being state president. and then being editor of my high school paper. And I decided to major in journalism at the University of Arkansas. My 4 years at U of A were wonderful. And I loved being with all my friends and working on the annual and the yearbook. And so giving a building to the University of Arkansas was really my way to say thank you for changing my life. And it's ironic that 2 Chi Megas have donated buildings to U of A in recent years. Cordia Harrington is a friend of mine, and she donated the Student Union building. So, you know, I love that Chi Megas are on the campus. College really prepared me for my career. I learned my sales and closing techniques at Rush for my sorority. And I learned organizational skills by editing the annual. And I learned how to be independent and to budget my money. And after I graduated in 1968, I moved to Little Rock. My roommate, Gara Owens, is here tonight, and with her husband. Gara was the matron of honor in our wedding when Rusty and I got married. But I loved living in Little Rock. I loved working for the television station. So it was a real close, you know, you can imagine what a moment it was for me that the building that I gave to the U of A was the television station there for the school. I also give scholarships to students in the journalism school, and I love getting their letters and hearing their plans for the future. You know, I feel very strongly that a free press and great journalists are very crucial for the democracy of our country. I'm still running the company that I started 52 years ago, and I love working with my long-tenured staff who are really a part of my family now. Rusty and I did an employee stock ownership plan 15 years ago, and it was a real win-win for them and for us because now we have 550 vested owners in our company, and they will have a retirement funds that they would not have had otherwise, and that was our gift to them. But I really feel blessed that I have been able to find a career at an early age that was perfect for me. And, you know, when you love what you do, it's not really a job. So my career and my life have truly exceeded my dreams or expectations. So winning this award tonight is really one of the highlights of my life. And so I want to once again thank the Arkansas Business Hall of Fame and the University of Arkansas Walton School of Business for making this such a special event for me.
The first thing that I think of is his focus always on the value of work, but he never really retired. And so I think he thought that there was not only sort of a personal value to working, but a value to your mind to stay active and engaged.
He grew up in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Dad had 2 older brothers. He went to Culver Military Academy, became the commandant of the school, which is the highest honor, then went to Georgia Tech, finished at the University of Arkansas, and then went to Yale Law School, came back to Arkansas, and became part of Dyke Industries. We were founded in 1866. It was founded as lumber distributor, and actually Dad was not an operator. He was more of an overseer. He always liked to say that he was the greenskeeper. I just got to make sure that the course looks nice and that everybody's having a quality experience. Our business is we assemble doors and windows in our locations throughout the Southeast and the Midwest. Dad sort of came back and he then hired Fred Edick. Fred really started the distribution in the true sense of distribution outside the state of Arkansas. We were in some of these states as distributors, but we were not as big as we became under Fred Edick's leadership.
When he was head of household or being dad, I had no idea that he was doing anything else. He did manage a big operation with lots of people that depended on him, probably more than we did, but at the time did not understand that at all. 2015 in Las Vegas, my company was getting an award. President Clinton was the keynote speaker, and so he was giving us the award, and before the award ceremony, we got to meet him. When I walked up, he said, "Jonathan Dyke, so good to see you." So he got my name right away, and I was with some other senior executives from another big company, and he stopped them and kind of held court, and he said, "Jonathan's dad, Jim Dyke, was responsible for saving downtown Little Rock at a time when it needed investment, and it was great recall by the president. He didn't talk about it much. He didn't want any of the spotlight, but I was certainly proud."
The way he sort of encouraged me through my life was, you're presented with opportunities, and if you have an opportunity and you think it's a good one, trust your gut and take it. But you need to follow your own path. And I think part of his journey was following his own path, not being defined by the family business. As a religious man, we went to church every Sunday. There was a lot of pressure oftentimes in the car for him to go faster, to get to church on time. Again, sort of teaching through his actions.
His passion was art, then the Arkansas Arts Center, Children's Hospital. He spent a lot of time there, also very philanthropic toward both those organizations. He believed that people should be able to come in and view these beautiful works of art, and you don't know what it's going to inspire. He gave generously to Children's Hospital as well as UAMS. He always told me, do what you like to do and you'll be successful. February 2012, he asked me to go to lunch, and I didn't think twice about it, and he said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to retire as chairman. I'm going to name you chairman of Dyke Industries." He prepared me for it, but I had a lot to learn. I feel like that he helped me make this company a better company.
Work as hard as you can, take any job. And that instilled in me a discipline of kind of having a chip on my shoulder for some reason, of wanting to work harder than anyone else, even if the job was a job no one else really wanted to do. And I think I got that from him, knowing that if there's an opportunity there, you've got to take it and you've got to capitalize on it, because it may not always be there.
One of the things that I believe made him so successful is the first thing he did was listen. He listened to people, and then he trusted people. A lot of the strength of the business he created, the relationships in business that he had, were based on that, listening, and that's very empowering.
He just wanted us to be good citizens. He just wanted us to be productive people, treated everybody equally. He was always kind and he was always fair. I think he would have been very proud and deeply appreciative of the recognition.
Escorted to the stage by 2012 Arkansas Business Hall of Fame honoree Walter Hussman, please welcome Merritt, Bear, and Jonathan Dyke, sons of James T. Dyke.
Well, I can't tell you what a great honor it is to speak for not only a great businessman, a great Arkansan, but a really great friend. Jim was reserved. He was thoughtful. He exhibited what I would call a quiet sophistication. He often avoided the limelight, so some people don't really know the major contributions he made to his home state. As was noted in the film, he's born in Fort Smith, but his family originally came down from Maine, and they came down like some others did after the Civil War, and of course the South was just economically devastated. They bought large swaths of timberland, and it proved to be a very good investment, and it proved not just for the dikes, but for Arkansas. Jim got a great education, as you saw at Culver Military Academy. I didn't know he was the commandant, but I'm not surprised. He went to Georgia Tech and eventually Yale Law School. He was like many young Arkansans who went away to Ivy League schools or great schools out of state. But instead of pursuing other things in bigger markets, he returned to his home state to make a difference. And Jim certainly made a difference. He was an excellent lawyer, and he was general counsel of his family business for a number of years. And then, of course, he became president and later chairman. Originally, the company was a landowner, and then eventually, after that, they became sawmill operators. But Jim knew the key was to add value, and they migrated into finished wood products like doors and windows and other great uses of wood. So Dyke Industries became a very successful company. One person who realized Jim's business acumen was none other than Bill Clinton. When Bill was first elected governor, he made Jim the head of the Arkansas Industrial Development Committee. And he renamed it to the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. So the two of them, Jim Dyke and Bill Clinton, were a team. And Clinton realized they needed to make a great impression, not just in other states, but worldwide. And they opened an office in Brussels, and they went on a trade mission to Taiwan, two decisions that would pay off for the state. Because of Jim's business accomplishments, he was sought after to be on many boards, and one of those was Union National Bank, a great bank here in Little Rock. And so the knowledge and the expertise he acquired there would lead him later in life to actually get into the banking business himself. Because of his thoughtful, intelligent, and deliberate manner, he became chairman of the Arkansas Children's Hospital and then the Arkansas Arts Center Foundation. He was on the Arkansas Arts Center Foundation when it actually was created. And though I've looked and I haven't been able to find the minutes to prove it, I believe he was the one who is responsible for taking the art that was owned by the Arts Center and placing it into that foundation. Jim had a lot of wisdom, and that move was very wise. Just how wise became evident a number of years later when the city of Detroit got in big financial trouble. Detroit decided maybe what they should do is sell some of their world-class art out of their museum because they owned it. But thanks to Jim, that was not and never will be a possibility here in Little Rock. Jim wanted to make more of a difference than just in business, and he became a major art collector, especially with works by Paul Signac, the famous and renowned French painter. He became one of the largest collectors of those paintings, and he donated over 130 of those to the Arkansas Arts Center. Probably the largest donation in number of paintings ever made to the museum here. And as a result, they built a wing. The museum built a wing just to hold his collection. And today, it's part of the collection of the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts. And Jim was also responsible for purchasing the Henry Moore statue, which is called Large Standing Figure Knife Edge. I used to walk by it every day because it was in the middle of downtown Little Rock and talking about his devotion to downtown. Today it's in the courtyard at our newly renovated museum. Jim was also a major philanthropist. Often things he donated to very quietly, and he was not looking for any credit for what he was doing. But he not only made Arkansas a better place through his philanthropy, but I know personally he encouraged people who were out trying to raise funds, and he encouraged me. As you can tell from the smile you saw up there on the screen, Jim had a great sense of humor. You know, I can hear that hearty laugh of his right now. And when he laughed, it made everybody around him a lot happier. Jim was not only a good businessman, he was a devoted friend, he was a great husband, and a great father. His sons here carry on this tradition of continuing to make a major difference in Arkansas and elsewhere. His generosity of spirit extended more than just money. In fact, when my wife Ben and I were trying to find a location for our daughter Olivia's and our son-in-law Joe's wedding reception, he and his wife Helen suggested, well, why don't you do it in our backyard? Amazing. Anyway, Ben and I were really fortunate. We traveled extensively with Jim and Helen, and when we would travel, and sometimes abroad, he would talk to people he didn't know, but he would make a prediction. His prediction was Arkansas is going to be a 21st century state. And people would ask him why, and he said, well, we have plenty of water, we've got plenty of natural resources, we've got natural beauty, we've got a mild climate, we've got a great work ethic in Arkansas, and we got a can-do spirit. Because of his major contributions to the 20th century Arkansas and to the beginning of the 21st century, he prepared us here in Arkansas to be that 21st century state. So Arkansas's greatest asset has always been its people. And Arkansas is certainly greater today for the life and the devotion of Jim Dyke. Thank you.
You know, I used to tell my mom, she says, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, well, garbage man, because I thought it was great. The harder you worked, the better off you were, and quite frankly, more money. I grew up in the Midwest, a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, Rocky River. Let's just say in high school, I rarely picked up a book. I was more interested in sports and other activities like a lot of people in high school. The studies really took off in college. I knew that the accounting profession provided tremendous learning opportunities. And plus, I liked the fact that even as a relatively young CPA, you were able to begin dealing right with the top of the house. Worked for a company, Ernst & Young, and after that, I had an opportunity to work in the Ronald Reagan administration. I'd always had an interest in politics, certainly would never be brave enough to run for office, but I thought this would position me for my next step in my career, which was Wall Street. So I get to Wall Street, and one of my first clients was a company called U.S. Steel. And there was a gentleman named Al Hillegas, who was one of the executive vice presidents, called me up and said, hey, Dave, let's go and see if we can buy some of these older, closed-down operations. We bought a pipe mill outside of Pittsburgh in McKeesport, Pennsylvania. We hired approximately 2/3 of the people that U.S. Steel had running that same mill, and we put in a monthly production bonus. After 4 or 5 months, we were beating all production records that mill had ever achieved. And then we did what really, I think, jump-started my career. We built a greenfield pipe mill on the northwest side of Houston, and that was a roaring success. And by that project, we said, why are we paying monthly production bonuses? let's pay weekly production bonuses. And that's what I've done ever since. That led to developing a reputation for financing steel projects. And I got a call one day from a gentleman who said, hey, we'd like to build our own flat-rolled steel mill. And so that company, called Steel Dynamics, we raised $385 million. So successful, we quickly doubled it. We then took it public. And today, Steel Dynamics is still, year in and year out, one of the most profitable steel mills, not only in North America, but the world. And so on Steel Dynamics, I started getting a taste of not just financing the project and walking away, but being an owner of the project and also being involved not in day-to-day management, but certain management responsibilities. And that led to 14 or 15 mini mill projects, primarily in North America, but also over in Southeast Asia. I also had the opportunity to work closely throughout my career with another Hall of Fame inductee, John Careni. John and I really for 20 years just took the steel industry by storm, and we came to Arkansas looking to put a brand new flat-rolled mini mill in place. We told the state we're going to invest $1.3 billion. We're going to create 500 jobs, and we bought a 1,300-acre site in northeast Arkansas and began building the mill. At that time, Big River Steel was the largest industrial investment in the state's history. We doubled it, put another $700 million in. We're looking to take the company public, and I got a knock on my door from U.S. Steel, my first steel client when I was a young punk on Wall Street. So here they are, 30 years later, calling up and saying, hey, Dave, we'd like to partner with you on Big River Steel. And I explained to their CEO we had all the capital that we needed. And a month or so later, I got another call. Hey, we really would like to be your partner. And the number was a little higher. By the time we got the third call, the number was quite exciting. And I said, well, maybe we do need a partner. So the board of directors called one day and said, Dave, we want to come down and meet with your managers. And I said, well, that's going to be a short meeting. They said, what do you mean? I said, we don't have managers, we have doers. I have a goal every year. I want to have the highest paid steel workers in the world, yet I want to have the lowest labor cost per ton of steel, which means keep our head count low, get rid of all the bureaucracy, get rid of all the layers of management, so you've got profits, productivity, and that leads to what I call the third P and the most important P, which is pay. I don't get paid a dime of money until my employees get paid. It's a recipe for success. But remember, if you don't create the right can-do culture, take no prisoners attitude, even with those three pillars, you're not going to be successful. High Bar, the company that we're currently operating and getting ready to double in size, the demand for our product is through the roof, and it's amazing to me. You know, I go all around the world giving speeches and talking about the steel industry. I frequently say, Arkansas is a great place to do business, but Arkansas is a really, really, really great place to do steel business. We've recently developed some partnerships with Arkansas State University and partnerships with the University of Arkansas. So Arkansas will continue to be a big agricultural state. It'll continue to be an entrepreneurial state, but it has become a steel producing state as well. And I'm just thrilled to have been able to play a small part in that development. And to be able to sit here today and talk about my induction into the Hall of Fame, it's quite humbling and greatly appreciated.
Escorted to the stage by Patrick Schick, the son of 2017 Arkansas Business Hall of Fame honoree Tom Schick, please welcome Arkansas Business Hall of Fame honoree Dave Stickler.
Okay, well, thank you for that introduction, Patrick. It's quite the honor for you to put the award medal on me. Your dad was truly one of my mentors. I worked with him for 20 years on various projects, so thank you for that. Appreciate it. It's very humbling to be here this evening. I first came to Arkansas a little over 12 years ago, and we made a commitment to the state that at that time we were going to invest $1.3 billion, create 450 jobs that paid no less than $85,000. The success of that project has led to what will be today just over $8 billion over that 12-plus year period, with thousands and thousands of jobs being created. These jobs, thank you. These jobs pay life-changing wages. Now, what we do is we give people an opportunity, not a guarantee, to earn those life-changing wages. You heard in the video about how we now pay weekly production bonuses. So you come to work 7 in the morning, work till 7 at night. 1 week you work 4 days, 3 days off. The next week you work 3 days, have 4 days off. But there's no limit on how much you can make. You make your base wage. The more tons you produce that week, the more money. I've paid weekly production bonuses as high as 287%. Right before Christmas one year, I told the guys and gals, let's shoot for 300%. We just missed. But a typical production bonus week will be 175 to 185%. Some of those jobs that we've paid in Northeast Arkansas, the heart of the Mississippi Delta, I've had several years over that 12-plus years where the average worker was making over $200,000 a year. Everybody is on the production bonus. We pay year in and year out 10% of profitability with no limit, no limit. I'm so fortunate to have had the opportunity to be part of a resurgence in the Arkansas steel industry that really started over 30 years ago when Bill Clinton was governor and a company called Nucor Corporation came in and built 2 steel mills in Blytheville, Arkansas. Fast forward a couple of decades, and here's this second resurgence. I've had an opportunity in Arkansas to work with Democratic governor, Governor Beebe, Republican governor, Governor Asa Hutchinson, and now another Republican. Yes, I believe Asa Hutchinson is here. Asa, if you're out there, thank you for all you've done, not only for my career, but for the steel industry in Arkansas. And now, of course, Governor Sanders. And we look forward to continuing that momentum. As was indicated briefly in the video, we're poised with the assistance of the Arkansas Department of Finance Authority, ADFA, who I was just visiting yesterday, to put another $1 billion in Northeast Arkansas this June, all right? And really, just the momentum that I see after selling Big River Steel to U.S. Steel, a company that was started by Andrew Carnegie, and based on the continuing success of Big River Steel, Arkansas now has a partner in the 3rd largest steel company in the world, Nippon Steel. You heard my statement. This is a great state to produce steel, a great, great state. But what really drove it, and thank you to everyone in this room that has been a part of it, whether it be Arkansas Northeast College, Arkansas State University, the University of Arkansas, ADFA that I mentioned, the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. These organizations have all rallied together to support an entrepreneurial company like we've started here several times in building these steel mills. But really two groups that I point to all the time. What led you, Dave, to make your first investment in Arkansas? It started with a company called Entergy Arkansas, a power company. Hugh McDonald was running Entergy when I first came here, and we negotiated a power contract that really has set the stage for that 12-plus year period. The second group, Mac McClarty was on the board of Union Pacific Railroad. We were looking to maybe invest in Little Rock versus Osceola. Both railroads very, very strong, but the winning railroad was the Warren Buffett-owned BNSF Railroad. So those two organizations, Entergy and BNSF, really helped shape what has turned into a great, great, great success. So in conclusion this evening, let me thank again the selection committee, all those that were instrumental in putting forth my nomination, whether that be Cliff Chitwood from the Arkansas Mississippi County Economic Development Commission, Patrick Schick, and many, many others. I appreciate it. I look forward to continuing to support this great, great dinner for years to come. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
The Arkansas Business Hall of Fame display is housed in the atrium of the Reynolds Center at the Walton College. It serves as a daily reminder to our students of what is possible and of the responsibility to lead with purpose, emulating these business leaders who have shaped our state and created opportunity for generations of Arkansans. As you know, an event of this caliber is made possible by many dedicated hands. We're especially grateful to our outstanding brand, engagement, marketing, and executive education team for their hard work and attention to detail. If you're a part of that team, will you please stand and be recognized for a job well done? Legacy doesn't happen by accident. It's built over time through principled leadership, bold decisions, and a commitment to something larger than oneself. That's what we've celebrated tonight. As the Walton College prepares to mark 100 years in the fall of 2026, we're inspired by the business leaders in this room and are committed to developing the next generation who will shape Arkansas's future. We hope you'll join us again next year on February 5th as we continue this tradition. Please feel free to take the floral display on your table. Have a good night, and congratulations to our inductees.